Hi everyone. Today we have Justin from BioChoice. He's a home inspector. Hi Justin.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing great.
Awesome.
Why people need home inspection?
Oh, there's a lot of reasons why people need a home inspection. Most importantly, it's to keep people safe. Whether that's the buyer or the seller, we want to make sure that the home that they're moving into is safe for themselves and their family. And also, when it comes to sellers, a lot of the time sellers don't even know that these safety issues are present in their home. So if we see anything within the home inspection that the seller needs to know about right away, we notify them too. So it's kind of both good for both parties.
Like by safe, like what do you mean? Like what are you looking for to make sure this house is safe?
So I have kids, and it's the reason why I got into doing home inspections. Because when my wife and I were renovating our place, we were seeing a lot of like unsafe, really sketchy, bizarre stuff. And I just wanted to make sure that like nothing would happen to at least my clients that were buying a home. So, for example, electrical safety is super, super important. Making sure there's no live exposed wire ends hanging out in the attic or any sort of wire splices that could cause a fire or anything like that. Also, exhaust vent piping. I see it multiple times a week where the exhaust vent piping for like water heaters or furnaces, they're not routed properly, they're not secured, they're not sloped properly. You could get backdrafting, which, could potentially lead to CO in the house. So like we're making sure we're catching these things so that these issues can be resolved.
Nice. If we gonna say Justin is buying a new home tomorrow, what would you look into like when you purchase this home? Like which is the priority?
Priority, well, it's hard for me to look at any structure. Like my family knows, like even if we go somewhere on a trip or something, I'm always looking at the buildings. Like I can't take it out of me. Like I'm always looking at stuff. So I think there's a lot of important things to look at, but for me specifically, it would be electrical. Just because electrical could result in, you know, shock or electrocution hazards or potential fire hazards. And people do electrical work themselves. So we want to make sure that we're catching a lot of that DIY electrical work and making sure that that gets fixed properly.
And like roughly how much it's gonna cost a client to do a home inspection?
Um, it's a tough question to answer. Honestly, it depends on square footage, age of the home, different factors like if there's an in-law suite or if it's a duplex, things like that. But a few $100s, they should expect at least for a good quality home inspection.
And would you advise sellers to do a pre-listing home inspection?
I think a pre-listing inspection is a great idea for sellers and for buyers too, because it will allow the realtor to kind of price the house accordingly, right? Based on whatever the inspection report comes back saying for that home. So I think in that way it can help. Um, I also think that the seller can kind of preemptively like fix stuff before the house even goes to market, right? And for the buyer, they don't have to worry about paying for a home inspection, right? They can just inquire with the listing agent and kind of have that report already sent to them. It's already been done.
Which we do advise our client in this market condition to do pre-listing home inspection, which gonna move the inventory faster.
Hmm. Yeah, it definitely stops like that hurdle, right? Of waiting for the inspection to come back, like having an inspection condition and then trying to negotiate things after the fact, like different repairs that have to be done. If you get the pre-listing inspection done, like you kind of cut out a lot of that, after negotiations, right? Because the inspection report's already telling you what needs to be done. And maybe it even highlights stuff that the seller has already fixed, stuff that was brought to light and the seller already took care of. So, yeah.
Correct. And then what's the weirdest thing you found during a home inspection?
Weirdest thing. I mean, I've seen a lot of weird things. Uh, some things I can't talk about,
Mm.
but a lot of drug paraphernalia. I guess that's kind of
Mm.
weird. Usually, I let the clients know that, hey, that's kind of hanging around, so just make sure your kids don't get
Correct.
into any of that. Um, when I go into attics of 100-year-old houses, a lot of the times I run into like old chests, and they're closed the majority of the time. And I want to kind of see
Mm.
what's inside of them, but obviously I can't. But I let the client know, hey, you got some old chests up in the attic there, so I don't know, maybe there's a treasure in there or something.
Mm. And like, do you remember any situation where you did a home inspection and it did help the buyers to avoid a bad deal?
Yeah, one in particular, which no home inspector wants to see a house that is a flip house essentially, right? Where someone has just bought it and then is trying to resell it. So there was a house that I was doing that was giving me indications that it was a flip house. There were a lot of like corners that were cut, things that were kind of done improperly, and the client was with me along the way, so we were kind of seeing all these things, one after the other after the other. And while I was doing my thermal imaging scan of the upper level, I was noticing that there was no HVAC ducts, there was no supply ducts. So I was doing my thermal imaging scan and I could see the heat coming through the wall, but there was no HVAC ducts. So during this renovation that this house went through, they had drywalled over all of the HVAC ducts. So that was kind of the last straw for that particular client when I said, "Hey, you'll have to cut your HVAC ducts out of the wall here." I think that compiled with everything else, that kind of you know.
Push them away.
Yeah, and that's the whole point of a home inspection, not to push someone away, but to inform them of kind
Mm.
of what they're buying, right? And I think in that particular case, it just got to be too much for that buyer, which
Correct.
is
And
uh,
you need to know what you're getting into.
yeah, yeah,
So,
very important to know, what your money's buying.
so what's the most important thing you look into during a home inspection?
So during a home inspection, we'll go through the house top to bottom, from the concrete slab foundation all the way up to the roof. And
Okay.
we're looking at different components and functionality of components and things.
How do you inspect the roof?
So I like to walk on the roof if
Mm.
I can. So low slope roofs, if I can get up there, that's the best way to inspect them to see things up close and personal. Otherwise, if it's a two-story or it's got a very steep slope, then I'll fly a drone, take a lot of good high quality pictures, and then go home and blow those images up, really kind of zoom in. That's how I do it. Um, so I find this is the best way is just to walk the roof if you can.
Nice. And like, what special equipment do you use during a home inspection?
Uh, there's a lot of different equipment. Obviously, the flashlight is most important.
Mm.
Most important is the flashlight, good quality flashlight. And then you have a thermal imaging camera, so that allows you to see if there's any sort of like insulation deficiencies or possible moisture behind walls. So that kind of gives us a little bit of an X-ray vision into basement walls. See if there's any insulation up in the attic before we even get up there. So thermal imaging is important. So we have thermal imaging camera. We have moisture meters. So if anything pops up in thermal imaging, we can kind of double check with the moisture meters to ensure that there's no sort of like active moisture or anything like that. I like the drone for the roof, so I like using that technology as well. So there's a whole bunch of different kind of cool
Mm.
tools that we can use.
And I noticed some of my clients who worked with you, they get excited once you fly the drone.
Yeah.
And they like it.
It's out for repair right now actually
Mm,
because it flew away on me the other day.
I know.
So yeah, it happens, right? You know, there's you just kind of have to take it as it comes at you, right? Um, but yeah, the drone is great. People love it. Catches a lot of people off guard too because they hear the buzzing and they're not sure what it is at first until they see me kind of flying it. But yeah, it gets me up close and personal with a lot of the roof surfaces. So yeah, it's great.
So Justin, what's the creepiest thing that happened to you during a home inspection?
Oh, well, I always try to come up with logical reasons for stuff because I guess that's just kind of my profession is to always come up with some sort of logical answer. And unfortunately, I've been in houses where, sadly there's been suicides and or homicides, and just people pass away naturally too. But some of these houses they just make you feel a certain way. It's hard to explain. One time a water tap turned on by itself, and I convinced myself that it was me that left it on. Um, um, but some houses they just make you feel sick. I can't explain it. It's just a feeling that I get in certain houses that I just kind of know. I'm not saying that like I'm a paranormal expert or anything like that, but yeah, there's some houses that kind of have circumstances and yeah, I think you can definitely feel it.
Thank you, Justin, for being here.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you guys for watching. And if you guys need a home inspection, Justin information will be in the caption. You know where to go.